we got to a point when we started, getting out of just buying homes ourselves and fixing them up, to actually working with clients I got to the point at least where I would sit down and say, look, you're going to fucking hate us.
Yeah.
Right? I just wanted to, no, we won't. We're
we
so
love you
excited
guys.
for the kitchen.
Yeah.
No.
You're going to hate us.
You're going to get,
Give me 4 weeks.
We got a little microwave down in the basement. We're going to make it work. Now, this is going to reach a point, I'm telling you, where you're going to have to, we need to sit down and have a meeting at it. I know. And I need to let you know that I told you in the very beginning that this was going to happen. So.
Well. We are back. Episode 8. Welcome, everyone. We've got another Josh as a guest. Josh Kellar, Denver Homeworks. Welcome.
Crushing the Josh game.
We're crushing the Josh game.
Yeah, I heard you guys had the other Josh. Or the other Josh.
Josh didn't show, but this Josh is on fire because he's here. So you're already ahead of the game.
This is the first place, Josh.
Yeah.
We have a Josh medal for him later. All right, man. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Colorado local.
Just a little bit.
7th generation native.
Oh,
7th generation.
Yep.
Holy cow!
Wow. Roots here for sure.
Where were you born originally?
Born in Denver, but I was raised in Parker.
Okay.
Parker, Elizabeth there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Cool.
Gotcha. And you own a framing and exterior company?
Yep. Pretty much framing contractors mainly what we do.
Yeah. How do you know this guy? Just work with him?
Yeah, we did.
You did some.
Busted open a wall on a house.
Yep.
3 years ago.
I'm trying to remember. That was an interesting client too. It was this weird, this home had been added onto, oh god, probably 4 or 5 times from the 50s on, and there was basically this guy, a professor at CU, bought it and decided he wanted to open up everything else upstairs.
So an amalgamation of. It's like walking through a time capsule.
It was
kind of
because there's so many awkward,
done in the 60s, and here's the 80 renovation, right?
Just trying to figure out structurally what was happening with that house because there was just so many little awkward corners and when did this show up? So getting that figured out, and you guys were hauling everything up over the balcony basically to get in there and put that beam in, and that was a fun one. I forgot about that.
Yep. Typical protocol for us.
Yeah, pretty much, I'm sure.
Yeah, danger.
Yeah.
A beam. So, how long have you had your company?
I've been running Denver Homeworks for coming up on 4 years now.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And how big is your crew?
Right now I have 6 guys.
Yeah.
We're pulled up into one crew right now. We're big customs, so.
Yeah. So do you typically work out of what area do you work out of? Are you in Denver or are you?
Yeah, my
anywhere?
hub's Denver. I live around the Glendale area, so it's pretty central for most of the work around there.
Yeah.
Right.
Like off Colorado Boulevard?
Yeah.
Glendale?
Colorado and Alameda there.
Yeah. Well, by the way, what is the deal with it? Isn't it unincorporated or?
Glendale's its own little bubble of something.
It's got its own mayor.
I don't know now. I grew up right around there, and it was always Glendale.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a goofy little. They've got their own little rugby team, and the whole.
It's weird.
It's a little strange.
It's nothing but Target and strip clubs.
Yeah.
So it's right. It's so much. It's like McDonald's. It's the strangest little. I don't know if it's a city or if it's It feels like the Washington D.C. of Denver.
Right.
It's not anything.
It's just there.
It's just there.
Yeah.
And it's got its.
It's on a map.
Anyways, very cool, man. Well, tell me. So you name the company again. Sorry.
Denver Homeworks.
Denver Homeworks.
Yep. Yeah. Mix that up.
So, how much of your work right now? Give us a good scope. Maybe it's a better way to say it. Give us a good scope on the type of work that you're doing. What kind of work you're doing most often? What are the phone calls you're getting? Give us a little bit of a pulse on.
Who do you say yes and no to?
Yeah, who do you say yes and no to? Kind of maybe a little bit of put the thumbprint on what it looks like to own a framing and exterior company in Denver.
Mm-hmm. Well, originally I went for the big customs. That was the goal, pretty much straight for that. And I got into that, and I really started at basements and realized I didn't want to be there. So got out of the basement dwelling.
Basements are tough, especially for right now.
Yeah, and got into the customs from there.
Mm-hmm.
And the customs are good, but the customers are picky. There's a lot of changes.
Mm-hmm.
You build an entire floor and then tear it down for 2-inch difference or something. So that was a little discouraging at first, so I decided to bounce from that and start doing some multifamily and see where that was at. So I figured that'd be more aligned with what we're trying to do, smash out as fast as possible and just get the production done.
Yeah, I've seen some of the projects you guys have put up lately on like Instagram and stuff too. And it was like, I was like, oh, he's doing multifamily, like legit, big structure stuff.
Hey, good time for a plug. What's your Instagram?
Denver_home_works.
Okay.
We'll plug him again.
I'll follow you.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got hooked up with a big contractor doing a lot of the multifamily,
Nice.
and then I don't know. The grass is always greener on that.
Oh yeah, man, you get
It
into
always
something
is.
and want change all the time, yeah, especially in this business. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm back to the customs now, pretty much.
Okay.
Is where we're at, and that's I think that's really where we belong. So.
Are you specifically working with a group of builders, or?
I have a couple main builders we work with.
Yeah.
A few of the bigger ones we work with the Chalet, and a couple big ones with them.
Yep.
I did a couple for Revolve. For
Oh,
they've been
okay.
doing.
How are they to work with? Don't worry, they won't listen to this.
They're really easy. I really enjoy working with them.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I've heard kind of good and bad with them the
Uh-huh.
last year or so, so I was just kind of curious, like, what's going on with that?
I think they're more on the design side of things.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, but it's nice because they want to partner with you and utilize you as the builder. In the
Yeah.
economy, so it's kind of nice.
Revolve?
Look, yeah, I'll send you. I've actually I've been kind of checking out some of those. I would call them the smaller builders of the area, like some of these guys that are doing some of those customs now, because it's kind of, I mean, there's stuff happening like Bonnie Bray again and
When you say
Park
small, like quantify small.
not Saunders Construction, not like 1,000 employees. You know, they're I don't know.
Like how many houses a year do you think?
I don't know how many they do. I mean, how many have you done with them? There's
Last time I talked to Jared, one of their main project managers, I think they had, he said like 12 on the docket. So
yeah,
Okay.
and they're probably anywhere 10 to 20 homes a year, I would guess. Is
Okay.
that kind of that realm of builder? Yeah.
probably
Okay.
they do a lot more of the infills and smaller
Mhm.
lots like
Yeah.
you're saying.
Yeah.
But
Right.
But they're more like design focused.
I
They're
think
not necessarily like how many can we build.
yeah.
And more kind of in the architectural design realm, working on those kind of customs. Do they work with clients, or is their homes, they build them and they just put them up?
spec.
I think they did do one of their own specs here recently,
Mhm.
but I think most of their stuff was with clients.
With clients, yeah.
But I think they tried to do a lot of the alternative building. We did an SIP build for them.
Okay.
Oh,
Another
cool.
SIP build going. So
Okay.
For our listeners, explain SIP.
they're insulated panel walls basically. It's basically plywood on the inside, plywood on the outside,
Yeah.
just filled with insulation.
Yeah.
A lot of them come with electrical already in them and
Yeah.
the conduit, so you
Yeah.
can run it through there.
And where are those typically, because those are manufactured, they're not, it's not put together there, right?
You order a spec. So
Yeah,
like whatever's on the plan per engineer, mechanical engineer, whatever, they come sort of built. I wouldn't say built to order, but they come on site ready to kind of put like Legos put
Yeah.
together.
So they're kind of like manufactured.
A little,
to
yeah,
spec offsite.
yeah.
They're brought in groups.
Mm.
It's not like you're getting a truck full of plywood and everyone's.
No, it's that part's put together
Okay.
outside
Yeah,
of the factory.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because that was one of my questions I wanted to have for you, knowing that you're in framing. Is do you foresee a future where traditional framing is obsolete?
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah.
I think I don't think it's the most efficient actually. The SIP builds to be doing it in the warehouse because things aren't perfect. It just
Right.
isn't. What you do on a computer and in a warehouse doesn't really extrapolate out into the field.
Right.
But that being said, I really think it's the labor shortage is where we're going to see the problems. I think.
So you
I
think
don't
that
as
will
many
be more of
people-
the death of it than like actual the progression of technology? You think more just there's going to be less and less people to actually do that kind of work?
I think so.
Yeah.
I I think it's gonna go more machinery, just ship out the main parts.
Yep.
Yeah.
A couple guys and big booms or trucks or cranes or whatever. And
Almost more assembly.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was, I can't remember where I was watching it. I was watching some thing or whatever, and they were going with all these different alternative ways to build. Just like a real basic one of those, I'll send it to you. And I had that moment, I was just like, man, we've talked about the death of certain trades on this podcast, like as things get going, if you can fast forward 50 years from now, or hell, maybe even 10, 15, where all of a sudden, I mean, we're even talking about shipping containers, but that still requires framing.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to, something's got to be put together inside or outside, depending on how you do those things.
Yeah.
But there's craft that still has to happen in that box.
Yeah, so I just think like the whole idea of stick build, like that kind of, it's so heavy, like what you're talking about with the skilled labor to be able to frame up a house. And even if there is framing involved, it seems like interior wall framing, but feels like as things progress, it's going to keep going in a direction where, you know, maybe you become an exterior and a SIP builder, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like this morphine has to happen. It's kind of the same idea as like there used to probably be 10,000 bricklayers, and now there's maybe a guy that is good with masonry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like there's not really like a bricklayer used to be like a thing. You know what I mean? And now, like, how many people know bricklayers? You know, it just seems like a dying, I don't know, technology or something. But I just, I mean, how much thought do you put into that kind of stuff? Making sure that your company is, I don't know, trying to stay
adapt and reform. I mean, you were talking about grass is always greener anyway, but you know, we're as contractors, you're constantly, if you want to stay in business, I think you're constantly looking for that, like that next cool thing that start, you know, like, oh, what is he doing? You know, oh, what is he using? How is that one built? You know, and then you get bored with the same stuff. I mean, I'm the same way. It's like I'm not doing basements anymore. I mean, I just did an insulated basement myself for the last 2 days, and I'm sitting there going, I mean, I was thinking, okay, I'll just take these jobs on while I'm working on other stuff, and now I'm like, no, I don't want to do any more basements, man. It sucks. So you're constantly looking for changes, but I don't know.
It's a balance. I think you want to drive the industry and see where the industry is changing too, but it also is limited by your red tape and coding and zoning, and a lot of that is pulling it back. So on one end, it's moving forward really fast, but it's not at the same time.
Yeah, that's what we talked about that on the Mill podcast.
Yeah.
About how this industry is like, there's so much forward thinking that can happen, but there's a big refusal to allow that forward thinking to actually come into play and progress, and that's why there's like this pushback on some of the alternative construction stuff that's come up. Is, you know, I think the main thing is the guys that have been in a long time just don't want to learn it. They don't want to deal with it. It's just like, this is how you do a house, period. This is the way it is. And
innovation will kill somebody's career. Potentially. If you're been laying bricks for 30 years, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, we don't need to do that anymore. That guy is going to have a knee-jerk reaction to say why not laying bricks is a bad idea. You know what I mean? Because if all of a sudden it's a good idea, he's not a bricklayer anymore, and no one's hiring him anymore. You know, same thing with like framing. If there was, you know, think of like, if you're just a framer, you're used to working with 8-foot 2x4s, and then all of a sudden it's like, these are these SIP, right? SIP sites, and it's just like, well, we don't really need you on this one. And he's probably gonna have some sort of reaction of, this is awful. This isn't how we should build houses. You know, we've been building houses a certain way for X long. We know what we're doing. Why are we screwing around with it? We're fucking it up, you know, all this kind of stuff. And it's kind of like, well, I was thinking about that because I always find it interesting, and using you as an example too, Josh, of like, you know, this is what you do. You have guys that you manage, and you got to keep them busy and employed and all of this. And, you know, there might be a Shane away of saying, well, I don't need to hire a framing crew anymore. You know what I mean? As you know, Shane might be working on alternative building stuff. And so I just was curious, like, how much thought you put into that, or how much you're staying on top of trends and making sure that your company is like nimble, or if it's like, I don't really have to right now because we're just so damn busy with what it is, you know, outside of just being interested in the industry. But how much time do you spend looking into alternative building, trying to see what the trends are and trying to make yourself available, or do you at all?
I do quite a bit.
Yeah.
I get discouraged sometimes. I get really pumped up about it, and I dive into the world, and then I realize all the hurdles that are there.
Yeah.
And
We can speak to that. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know. It seems like the alternative building is a lot more popular in other countries. It seems like we're kind of just watching everyone else kind of do it, which I think the trickle down will eventually get here.
Yeah.
But so I guess that's what's discouraging.
Yeah.
Watching everyone else do it and see all these awesome things happen. Trying to figure out how we can implement it here, but there's a lot of hurdles with it, and I don't know if as many people are interested here in the States necessarily either.
Yeah, I wonder why that is.
You know, I could ramble on about political issues in this
Because you go
country
to Europe,
forever.
and it just feels like almost everything.
Yeah, I mean Asia
Really?
especially.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to bring up China right now, but you know, even China's on the
China.
forefront. China. I mean, was it China? I'm trying to remember where they built. My brother sent me this. They built a 6-story apartment complex with a 3D printer.
Yeah.
So kind of taking that SIP concept and that prefab concept, and then basically just printed out the entire building, and then, you know, like you were saying, hired, I don't know, a very small crew to crane it in and put it together.
Right.
Yeah, they built the coronavirus like hospital in like 7 days.
Yeah.
In China. Yeah.
I saw some picture of all the tractors, like 100 tractors.
Yeah. Like, I can't even get a deck built in 6 days.
Well, that's the thing too. Is I mean,
you know, somehow maybe that whole communism, slave labor thing.
yeah, don't pay them; they work faster.
I don't know. Same thing with like in Dubai, like the stuff they whip out.
Dubai's
so
impressive.
quickly. I don't know. There's probably something in how we perceive the process here.
I think there's some political games being played, but I don't mean politically like, you know, Congress, but I mean just, you know, as far as like, you know, who wants to make the money, who wants to get the projects. I think there's you know, I mean Casey's a good example of that too, with unions and trades, and they have to have so many hours for the year.
Do you know Casey Thompson? Have you ever?
I don't think he's
about
met Casey.
him?
No, I'm
Casey's
sure
a
he's
master
in the job.
electrician.
I think so.
No, I don't think he's met Casey.
He would remember.
Yeah,
You remember this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's actually an interesting point when you kind of bring up, you know, you get really excited, and then it's kind of like, yeah, let's, and then it's like, no, man, hey, bro, we don't do that stuff. It's like, oh, okay. Just please go frame up the basement.
Yeah.
Jesus
Get back
Christ,
to work.
really? Does anybody want to hear a different possibility? Nope. You know. Yeah. No. And I'm wondering. I'm just trying to like think that through about the difference of like if you look at Europe, you look at Asia, you look at places like this, and you know, building hospitals in like a week.
Right.
And then, you know, I'm thinking it's going to take me 7 days to get a fence built. You know. I'm wondering if partially, and this I have no context here, maybe we can debate this, but maybe it's that the trades people here, we have the authority level backwards, where the authority comes from the tradespeople saying, this is what we require, this is what we do, and we kind of control and dictate whether or not this project goes quick or fast or is expensive. Whereas if you look at a place like China, the authority level's switched. The workers don't have, you know, I'm trying to think how to carefully say this.
I was saying you're starting to tread on. I mean, who cares?
Yeah, no, what I'm, but
I see where you're going with that.
But like, if I want a deck built,
yeah,
right? It's not standard that a guy putting a deck makes $15 an hour. Right. So the homeowner has to sift through all the different possibilities of contractors. There's probably some sort of general contractor there a guy that manages his own, like his labor team. They probably have where they get lumber. There's not like, oh, I'll have all the lumber delivered, all ordered. No. We have suppliers we use, and that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, there's maybe some of that. I think. I mean, and Josh can speak to this too. There's, I think, on the front end of just getting projects going, a lot of times, I mean, especially in Denver, I think just the regulations and going through permitting processes with building departments takes way longer than it should, right? So just to get it started could be 4 to 6 months, which we've got everybody sitting around. If you go into the building department in Denver, for an example, and hopefully I don't piss anybody off with this, but you can see them, like when you come to the counter, you get called up to the counter. I've had several times where they're like, the number gets called, they come sit down, and they're closing out their Facebook page, or they're closing out their email, and it's just, they're not doing anything, so they could have been back there reviewing something else and just waiting to counter. I think that part of the process is much slower here in the States. I mean, if you, just watching other YouTube channels and listening to guys in other states, it's the same type of problem with the process that it is here. So I'm not like speaking like, oh, it's just Denver, it's just Colorado. I think that's part of the bigger problem, is it's just the red tape itself is so thick, just to get started is a pain in the ass. I mean, think about, I'm pretty sure it was China when they built that complex. I think it was like 30 days from start to finish. Plans are submitted, apartment complex is up, 30 days. I mean, imagine if you could build stuff that quickly, and how much more efficient, one, for everybody, and two, how much more money you guys could make. Because if you're bidding per square foot, it doesn't matter how long you're on the job, the faster you get off the job, the more money you make. Because, do you pay your guys hourly, or do they split costs with you on square foot, or should I even speak to that? Don't tell them what they
No,
think.
most of my guys are
How much
hourly.
do you guys make, and
How much do you charge versus, yeah.
And nitty-gritty. No, most of it's hourly, and then we just bonus on projects pretty much, so
Okay.
that's usually the best way to do it.
you bonus your guys
If we do well.
if you do well, and well
That's
being
a tricky thing to do now. It's not a very standard thing there, so there's a lot of variables going on with it.
what quantifies well? I mean, obviously,
But production.
like speed and efficiency,
I mean, you gotta balance that with the quality too.
quality. Who decides if it's well? Is it you?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Hey, I think you guys did a good job here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because it's kind of already measured, right? That's what code's for. They come in and
Yeah, but
it's framed. It
you've
meets
got
code.
a California corner that you guys shouldn't have used those 3 studs, it's a little twisted. Sheetrock's gonna be pissed once they get in here. We gotta fix that. This door is framed at 82.5. I wanted it at 82, and the more they do it right at that level, the easier it is for Josh when he's walking through to say,
That's really it. How much stuff can we do and not have to go back? And
Right.
yeah, okay.
You're always gonna have to fix something. But
Well, we didn't have
try
to
keep
come
it
back and
minimal.
redo anything. We did well. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. How often do you have your tool belt on?
When I'm working,
Yeah, I mean, like, are you busy enough that it's almost just managing the company, or how much of you is managing the site?
last year I was probably 75% in the field with my bag and
Okay.
25% managing.
Okay.
I'm on the field now,
Yeah.
pretty much all the time with the
Yeah.
bags on. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of the managing and
Mm.
all that. I'd
Yeah.
rather just keep it smaller. I tried getting big and taking on a bunch of jobs and running 3 crews and subcontracting these 2 guys, and it just got really overwhelming really quickly.
Yeah.
it becomes a shit show in a hurry.
It does,
Yeah.
it does, and you're trying to get that money grab and just take as much as you can, but
Mhm.
sometimes they'll bite you in the ass.
Yeah.
So I've kind of honed it down.
Yeah.
We settled with the big builder, like I said, doing our big custom right now.
Mhm.
So if I can stay on site and keep
Mhm.
the quality control right there,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a lot better.
Yeah.
So,
No. How old are you?
31.
31.
Mhm.
Okay.
How long you been doing this? When did you start in this trade? Like, who taught you? Where'd you learn how to do it?
I mean, I pretty much started when I was 12, 13, picking
Okay.
up trash with my dad.
Yeah.
My dad's a framing contractor.
Okay.
He's been doing it for 20, 30 years.
Okay.
So
You
pretty
mean
much.
like on the job site, you were just picking up, cleaning up? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's me. When he was 12, that's far as I've ever progressed.
I'm picking up trash. That's true.
You gotta start somewhere.
You run a good shit. That's right. I haven't started somewhere and never moved up the
Yeah,
ladder.
I was just like, no, I'll pick out the pretty things and then I'll shop back the shit.
You're a hell of a shop backer.
Yeah,
I'll tell you
I
what.
just hate a dirty job site. Yeah, so I've never gone past your 12-year-old experience.
So your dad taught you
I do.
the whole business basically. Or did you go somewhere else for a while?
No, I'm pretty
You
much.
were
I worked with him.
exposed
He didn't
to-
really teach me much. He gave me the opportunity to work with this crew, and then that was up to
Gotcha.
me whether I wanted to pick up on it. And
Yeah.
he never really. My parents never really wanted this for me. They wanted me to stay away from it. I think it was a hard industry for my dad, so
Yeah.
he didn't tell me not to, but they tried to keep that as like on the back burner.
Right.
But-
Don't encourage it, but if he's gonna choose it, he's gonna choose it. Yeah.
Mhm.
But was he doing like what you're doing, which is I have my company and I have my crew, or was he just a subcontractor who was a framer? Like, is there a difference between what you're doing now at 31 versus what your dad was doing? Like, does that make sense?
Kind of.
Does he own the company or did he?
Yeah.
He owned his own company?
Mhm.
Okay, gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha. They said no, huh? They didn't want you doing it? What do they want you doing?
I'm gonna go get a college degree.
Oh, I love that.
But now looking back, I mean, you are who you are, and
Yeah.
heck, it's in my blood, and
Yeah.
I love building, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah.
There's-
You want me to be an
yeah.
accountant, so you want me to hate my life.
Yeah.
You know what you're saying? You want me to go to school and then hate my fucking life. Great parenting. Don't do what you love. Please. Go fall in line somewhere.
It's
Yeah.
it's a
Love you, Mom
it's a
and
hard
Dad.
business.
Love you.
It's a hard business, and especially when your parents, like your mom, your dad, whoever's in that business and rides those waves, because it is very cyclical. We talk about that all the time, and you see the fallout from that when there's slow years and it's a struggle, and I mean I'll do the same thing with my kids. We'll see.
Have you ever thought about building yourself?
Being a builder?
Yeah.
Yeah, on the regular.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What's the biggest obstacle from outside capital?
I still enjoy working in the field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I
couldn't
don't
you
know
work
what
in
I
the
can-
field on your own home?
Huh?
Couldn't you work in the field on your own home?
On my own house?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. When I do it all day long, it's not really what I want to come home and do necessarily.
I get it. I used to be a dancer and choreographer
But,
for like a good decade, and every time I'd go out, it was almost like, "Effing go dance." I'm like, man, I was
wanna sit here
literally in
tomorrow.
a studio all day. I did that for work. I don't want to come here and do what I did for work. Yeah, it's a tough thing when it's yours, and we've had other businesses too, and it's like when we had our restaurant, people were like, "Oh, why don't we meet up at your restaurant?" That's the last
That's
place.
the last place I want to be right now.
I do not want to go there. I will go
No
down the street and give one of my competitors money
Yeah.
at this point. I've been there all day, and I don't want to see the chef. I don't want to talk to anybody. Someone's going to complain about something. Someone's going to have a suggestion. So I get it, man. Guys, you got sixes. You're doing framing and exterior. Talk about exterior work. Is that just like siding? Is that any kind of facial? Like, walk me through like a 2-year-old.
pretty much
What you're doing on
everything
exterior.
wood. So
Anything exterior wood.
and that'd be, I mean, we do windows and doors too, so I guess
Yeah.
that covers it. But
Okay.
so windows, the doors, the trim,
Yeah.
to any siding,
Yeah.
and your soffit and fascia.
Can people
Pretty much good.
reach out to you just for, let's say they want to replace 10 doors in their house, or are you pretty much specifically working with builders? How accessible are you?
I think now I'm just settling with the builders right now,
Yeah.
at least the
Yeah.
Denver homework side of
Yeah.
things. Like I said, I do in the future want to open up another side and
Yeah.
do more of just the building side and take
Yeah.
on.
Like more residential clients?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
That would be the natural progression.
The remodel work it's tricky. Even just to changing out windows and doors.
Yeah.
People think it's cheap and it's easy because you're remodeling things, but it's cheaper sometimes just to tear shit down
Right.
and build something
Oh, yeah.
around it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the hard sell sometimes too, is when you get into to remodel work and they just say, I just want to do this, and I have to explain to them, and you've done the same, I'm sure. And no, I know this sounds weird, but if we just tear everything out of here and let me rebuild it this way, it's actually going to save you a little bit of money. It's going to be way better. Otherwise, I'm tinkering with 100 years worth of crap that someone's done on this house.
It sounds like you just want more money.
You're just trying to upsell me. Yeah, it's true though. I mean, it really is just trying to get into this. Clients are hard to work with.
They are.
They're really tricky.
You want to be completely transparent and upfront and be like, look, this is going to be stressful. It's probably going to take longer. It's probably going to go over budget. But then you probably wouldn't get the job if you told them that.
Right.
That was almost our very first podcast. Wasn't that our topic?
Homeowners versus contractors.
Homeowners versus contractors. Like, let's just lay it out there and try to provide some transparency to the homeowners.
Right.
And then also try to speak directly to contractors on how to better negotiate what you literally just said. If I'm 100% honest with you, you won't give me the job. So the homeowner, in a weird way, is dictating some sort of like smoke and mirror. If you would just let me be honest with you, and then I don't have to lie to you, or not lie to you, or maybe underscore what this is really going to look like. But you don't actually want me to tell you that this is probably going to take longer, probably cost more money, and be dirtier than you think.
Yeah.
Right? So then what happens is they hire the person who doesn't say that, right? And then they get this awful experience because it's exactly what you said it would be.
Right.
Right? And it's like, so the guy that didn't tell you the full truth gets the job. And the guy that was actually being honest with you from the beginning typically has a harder time getting the job. It's a weird, like...
You have to tread that line.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, look, when we talk about it all the time, where we got to a point when we started, getting out of just buying homes ourselves and fixing them up, to actually working with clients I got to the point at least where I would sit down and say, look, you're going to fucking hate us.
Yeah.
Right? I just wanted to, no, we won't.
We love you guys.
For the kitchen.
Yeah.
No.
You're gonna hate us.
Give
me 4 weeks.
We got a little microwave down in the basement. We're gonna make it work. Now this is gonna reach a point, I'm telling you, where you're gonna have to, we need to sit down and have a meeting. I know. And I need to let you know that I told you in the very beginning that this was gonna happen. So when that moment comes, I can say, I told you this was what it was going to be, and they just never like hearing it.
They get tired of writing checks.
Yeah.
They get tired of the noise. They get tired of guys in and out of their house. I mean, the way I built my business and, pulling it away from when Evan and I were working together, but we did the same thing as we had the same electrician, the same plumber, the same mechanical contractor, the same little crew. It was not like we're just going to bid out to a different stuff every time, because going in and out of someone's home is really personal, which is why I don't like the remodel side.
Yeah.
But it's fun as far as trying to figure things out. But going in and out of someone's home every day, they want to know who's coming into their house. When they give you a garage code or you put a lockbox on their door, and they're just like, come on in, because we love you guys. And it's just it's the same people. It helps. So by the end of the project, when they're still ready to cut your throat and they're done, at least it's the same guys in and out. And they're just like, who is this guy today? I don't even know that. And you get that phone call. There's a weird dude at the front door. Do you know him? Keeping it consistent is really important. I found it makes it easier over the years, but it's tough, especially towards the end. And they've got the little blue tape out.
Right.
And they're just like, I just want to collect my check. We're good. We love it.
Have you been able to keep consistent trades with you, or is that?
Yes and no. And I would say the no was because I've butted heads with guys the last year or so. It's been a little tough. Really, the subs are trying to raise their prices a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, they're trying to grab that money because they think there's a deficiency in work right now. But when you fuck me over and you're not honest, and you've been honest, I've given you all this work, and I refer out to other jobs for them that I don't even want, and to have to remind them that I've done that, and then they come back and say, oh man, I still got to charge another $2,000, or I got to give you another $3 a foot on the sheet because that's just what it is today. Sorry, Shane. I'm like, no, get the fuck off my job site. I mean, so I've let go of some guys that were very consistent with me for a while because of that, unfortunately. But I've otherwise been pretty consistent keeping those guys around. It's just delayed.
Has your team been pretty consistent? How much attrition do you have with your crew?
What was that? Sorry.
Is your team, your group, is it pretty consistent? Do you have a lot of turnover? You experience, like, you said you had what, 6 guys?
Yeah.
6? I mean, have you had them for a while?
I have my main guy, Alan.
Yeah.
He's been with me pretty much from the start.
Okay.
And then I have my other second guy from him, Jesse. He's been with me for about over a year now. So
Okay.
I usually keep a consistent 3-man team.
Yeah.
That's usually what I can keep.
Yeah.
That's the ace team right there.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether my other guys show up or don't. We can keep the
You can
rest
still
of them
go.
with us. So.
Yeah.
But it's tricky. It's tricky to keep around. A lot
Yeah,
of
let
consistent
me
guys.
ask both of you guys this question. And I'll leave myself for the attack.
I'm gonna flick your nuts.
Are you guys overpaid?
Are we overpaid?
Not you two specifically.
Yeah.
Should a framer come into my house, I'm using framing just as an example, and make 40 an hour?
I think
For cutting wood?
You're pulling it. Listen, it's a craft. I mean, if you
It
want
is
to
a
do it
craft.
right, and here's the reason why. And I'll let Josh speak because he frames every day. But you are setting up the structure for the rest of the trades.
Yeah.
The better you are, the easier it is for everyone else. And then for me, because I still have my bags on the line. I'm coming back in and doing all the finish work, and I have Josh as my main guy too. So we're doing all the mill work, the trim, the doors, everything. So if we sub out a framing crew, it better be the way we frame it, or we're gonna be pissed when we come back in. And I think it's the key to when you're trying to find guys that want to stay with you is having to do some of those trades after they frame to understand why it's so important. But I think we're in a little bit of a bubble because we've got a cost of living issue here in Colorado. I think across the country, labor has gone up because there's stuff happening, but
It seems like it just got exponentially more expensive.
Well, I was going to
over the
say
last
start.
5 years.
Yeah, I would throw Josh because he's got a consistent 3-man crew, is what he's saying. But when you're finding other guys and they come to you, what do they ask to start with very little experience? Because it seems like the $20 an hour realm is like what they want to start with, 0 experience.
Yeah.
And there was even guys I was watching, I think it was like 2 weeks ago on the news, and Congress was talking about bumping the minimum wage again. This guy was preaching for a $20 minimum wage an hour. Well, I don't know how you stay in business
Right.
Yeah, that'd be
with
tough.
the guy that's shop vacuuming after the end of the day. Are you going to pay him 20? I mean, you were overpaid shop vacuuming.
Yeah.
So.
Might be in the top 5 shop vacuums in the country.
All of them. But I mean, Josh, do you think that, when a guy comes to you and they say, I can frame or I have some skills, what are they asking for payoff to start?
Yeah, what's the starting?
A lot of the guys that claim to be really skilled, they want that $30 to $35 an hour. But honestly, 90% of those guys are not as skilled as they claim to
Right.
be. They may have been at one time in their life.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Just wonder
I don't know.
if the Joshes and the Shanes of the world just put their foot down and said, look, this is my company. My company is here to make profit and deliver good products. And it's almost impossible to get consistent work when I'm paying the people, unloading trucks, $40 an hour or $35 an hour. And if you guys just collectively, no, this would never happen, but just put your foot down and say, I pay 18. Well, that's ridiculous. I'm not going to go do that. But then if that was everywhere, if it would reset, would recalibrate, you know what I mean? It's like anytime, take Josh Thompson, for example. Love Josh, right? Does great work. He did work on my house, one of Shane's guys. And it was kind of like, well, look, I want, 40 an hour, 50 an hour, and it's like, wow, hold on a minute, how long is this going to take you? It's going to take me this long or whatever. And we were trying to figure out, do I pay you a lump sum just to complete the bathroom, or do I pay you hourly to do it? And I'm not saying Josh is overpaid, and I'm not necessarily saying he's underpaid. I'm just saying I think it was from the time that I kind of got out of renovating or whatever to back, I'm like, this seemed to get really expensive.
It jumped
really fast. We used to be able to go find good work anywhere from 15 to 25 an hour. And I don't know if it's the cost of living. It might also be what you're alluding to, which is there's just a shortage in labor, so they get to be more picky. They can say, look, you can take me or not. Find another guy that's going to replace all your doors. There's not a lot of people doing that kind of remodel work anymore.
Right.
So if you want your interior doors all replaced, this is what it's going to be. You
Yeah.
can say no or you can say yes, but I'm in demand, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a benefit to that, but
I'm overpaying right now. I mean, I don't know if Josh feels that way, but I know I'm overpaying for a lot of the work that we're doing. I'm overpaying the guys, and I've had I would say heartfelt conversation with some of the guys, subs and guys that are working with me about what I can actually pay them now, because I'm starting to get to a point where it's so expensive, even though there's still money out there, people are like, oh, I don't know, let me get back to you. And of course that means that's code for I'm gonna go see if I can get it cheaper. And sometimes I get that call back halfway through a project, Shane, come in and help us because this guy's not very good, or you walk off the job or whatever it is. I don't know, I'm not gonna like make Josh feel bad, but I think, yeah, 40 to 45 an hour for a decent framer I think is overpaying right now. But what are you gonna do? I mean, you're overpaying. The same hourly rate we were paying 5 or 6 years ago for a good one is now an average one for maybe $5 more an hour.
yeah.
So it's hard. I mean, when you're bidding jobs, are you starting to get squeezed by builders, or have you felt that yet, or?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit, but I usually sway away from those builders.
Yeah.
Because I need what I need to cover it, so
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what you need to cover it. I need to cover it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you got to keep your good guys for sure.
There's a lot of variables with it. I think we're going to see a change here soon. I think it's starting to plateau a little bit,
Yeah.
and I think it'll all level out here.
Yeah.
I think there was a big peak here over the last 5 years, but
Yeah.
I
Just
think
seems
we'll
to
see
get
it
really
kinda
expensive.
settle out.
And I know there's times, I know you've experienced it, where it's like, did all my subs just make more money on this than me?
Oh yeah.
There's been multiple jobs that they were all getting paid
See,
money,
that-
but if it kept the project moving and it kept
Right.
the doors open, then you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, no, that's the part as the entrepreneur in me. It's like, look, I'm doing this to make money and have a career. I make money first, and that seems in this industry getting to be harder and harder if you want to have your own company.
Right.
And it's just like, I'd almost be better off just saying I'm 35 an hour and just hire me. You know, and maybe I'd make more money and stay more busy.
I've had those. I've had that heartfelt conversation with my wife about that in the last couple of years. I mean, I got throttled on a couple of jobs. Just real quick backstory over the last 2 years, and I got buried into hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, making stupid decisions where I actually knew better, which is the worst part. It's like I knew better, but I did it anyway. Everything got done. Everyone's happy. Plenty of guys made money. I'm paying back loans. Like,
Yeah.
at what point, you know, you have that, once that happens, you have that sit down with yourself and whoever else, your family, and you go, the fuck am I doing?
Yeah, and then they come to you, hey man, that was great. Can you do another job?
What, yeah,
No,
where's the work? And you're just
I
like,
can't do another job. I gotta figure out how to pay for the one I just did.
I'm working at, I'm gonna build a whole house myself
Yeah.
because I can't afford to pay anybody. So, yeah, it's not, sometimes, I mean, there's days, I'm sure you felt the same way, like I just want to clock out at 4:30 and go home and not worry about it and collect my check.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part when we talk about being an entrepreneur. That's it right
Yeah.
there. Because there's days where you're gonna be like, holy shit, I made less money than everyone else here.
Yeah.
I'm the boss. I'm the most skilled guy here, and I made $9 an hour for this job.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah, that's where I think those guys shouldn't be getting paid that $40 an hour because they don't carry that risk. That
Nope.
No,
They don't
there's
think
no
it's
skin in the
shown.
game.
No.
Yeah, I just get to show up and work and drive off in my $80,000 truck. Like, oh, what the fuck just happened here? Like, dude, that's a really nice truck. Yeah, you're gonna get one? I can't afford one. Yeah, that's weird. I'm paying you for work.
Paying you too much.
Yeah, I think I'm paying you too much, man. Good advice to all subcontractors out there: don't have a nicer truck than the boss.
Drive the
When
shitty
you
truck
want
to
to
work.
negotiate, when you're negotiating pay, pull up in your like
Pull up
Dodge
your old one.
Neon
Yeah.
that has like 2x4s on the roof. And you're like, damn, I'm just trying to make it
No,
work.
you want that guy. You want somewhere else.
Yeah.
He's dragging people.
No, I'm really good. Yeah. I've been doing this for years, and you haven't figured out to get a truck yet. Yeah, true. No, I was just thinking about that because, you know, when I was doing the work in the backyard, and I had, you know, Sleepy and his guys out there.
Sleepy. Love it.
You know, there's guys willing to work for they just need to be making money.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like, you know, pay these guys $15 an hour and they can get a lot done, and you know they're generally pretty well rounded. And there is a drop off between someone like a Josh Thompson and those people. I mean, 100% Josh Thompson crushed it on the work he did in my bathroom, and actually it turned out to be a overall pretty good deal for me. So thank you, Josh, if you're listening. But I'm also pretty ruthless when it comes to that stuff. I'm a tough negotiator. But I'm like, at the same time, there's a guy in the bathroom getting paid $40 an hour, $45 an hour, and outside there's guys working for $15 an hour. And I had this moment where I'm like watching Josh like cut wood, and then I'm watching them cut wood, and I'm like the same action of cutting wood's happening, but one's, I'm like, what is the gap here? Like, you guys are both holding wood, cutting it, and putting it in, but one's 15 an hour, one's 45. One's driving a Ford Raptor truck, and the other one's in a Dodge Neon, and the quality, I'm like, I've always, and I think to me, there are certain, and this is clearly my ignorance, you think of like finish work and trim carpentry, like those things being more expensive. And I think you kind of laid it out too about, and you too about, that's why I was asking, like, how do you quantify good work? Because it seems like to the layman, well, framing is framing. If it's bad, it won't pass code, right? So, what really quantifies good framing versus bad framing? Is it speed? Is it efficiency? Is it the amount of work that you redo? Because it seems like there's already a built-in mechanism to evaluate the work, which is inspections, right?
There is and there isn't. I mean, there's code. Framing's framing, and it all should look the same. There's a difference between some clean framing and some sloppy track framing. You walk through this house and you can see there's a difference in the craftsmanship there. Even though there is framing and there's a standard to it, there still is a difference there. So.
Yeah, splitting wood, firing too many nails into it, the top plate, and it just looks messy. I mean, if you walk through it and you see 14 nails going every which direction, the wall's up, it's gonna stay. Yeah. But there's gonna be a lot of trades that are cursing these guys when they come in later. Yeah. Yeah. You can make a really good trim carpenter look a lot better, and they will come back, and sometimes even it's a good negotiating tactic on pay, knowing if, like, when they ask me who's framing this thing.
Well, that's where we've gotten some of the biggest work is from the trim carpenters.
Yeah.
This guy knows what
we want him to frame this, and I'll take the job. Really? Yeah, because if it's one of those crews, I'm not the charging.
Give me an example. Like, if you're a trim carpenter, like, think of something. Like, I'm looking around the room, literally, and I'm looking at, like, the bull nosing and stuff like that. Like, is that, or window installers, is that where they're like, please give me a good framer? Or, I mean, like, what's an example?
Well, so the sheetrockers are coming.
Dude, you're making this too complicated. A flat fucking wall.
if you just simple stuff, like if you don't crown your studs, right? And now there is cool stuff happening with framing lumber too, but it was just conventional nominal lumber. If you don't crown your studs, so every stud's gonna have some sort of weird twist or curve to it. There's not many. It's from a tree. It's being milled. It's not perfect, right? So everything's curved one way going down the wall. That wall will be true. So when the sheetrock guys come in and they hang sheetrock, it's gonna be fairly flat. But if you don't, they don't really care, especially when you're going to production and stuff. They're just gonna hang rock, and that wall's gonna do this. So if that wall's oil canning, and the guys come in to trim it out, how much longer does it take them to make it look nice? That's just nice, not even good, right? If your wall's not squared up to your channel and your 90's not perfect, and you go to hang that door, they're gonna be fighting that door to get it in just so the damn thing closes.
I guess the same thing would be true for your trim guys who are putting in baseboards.
Right.
And
you can't run base if the wall's oil canned. So it all trickles down. But that's what I was saying. Like, that's why framing there's so much importance behind it if you got a good framing crew. So those trim guys know if Josh is framing the house, their job is way easier. They may not even charge as much as they normally do. I've had trim guys, like, if they know we're gonna trim or we're gonna frame it, they'll like, I'll give you a deal on this, man. I'm not gonna charge a normal rate because we'll be getting at her so much faster, and it'll still look really good. So then I make more money because I can still charge their rate to the client. Right. Secret. So it's good for everybody, and they'll come and they'll take more of those jobs, like you were saying. They'll request you. If the builder's like, they've got their little crews of whoever's doing what, and the trim guys come up and go, well, make sure Denver Homeworks is framing it, and we'll stay with you guys. Like, and so they'll call up, hey Josh, we got a job for you. You know, you get referred for other trades if you're on top of that. It works.
I think this is where some of that alternative building comes in as beneficial though, because it's hard to pick out the right material on the site and snowing outside.
Yeah.
As opposed to you can do a lot of that in the warehouse and
oh yeah, it sounds nice.
figure it all out right there. So.
You frame it with your shorts on all year round here.
Yeah.
That's kind of a nice gig too, you know.
Flip flops?
No. OSHA would not approve.
It's also me walking around shop vac in flip flops.
In flip flops.
What's give us a horror story. I want to hear one. I want to hear what is without having to say the client's name.
A horror story.
Yeah, I want to hear your worst job ever that you had.
I mean, starting off in the very beginning, very eager, very hungry, willing to take pretty much whatever. We got burned a few times there, and they just wouldn't pay you pretty much. So those were smaller jobs. Those were just, I mean, a few $1,000s a year, $2,000 a year. But when you're starting off, that's
a lot of
the
money.
difference of it. Yeah. So, but you learn really quickly, and you get a feel for who's legitimate and who's not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that was kind of discouraging in the beginning there, but.
You didn't have one that was like, we framed this up and then it was just exposed and it rained for 5 days and you had to come in and rip the whole house down. There's nothing like that.
Nothing burned down.
We did have one, which I mentioned, it's tricky with the big customs and they get picky about stuff, but we rolled an entire second floor, had a bunch of LVLs as the main structure, and they were gonna faux beam them out later. And they were 14-inch LVLs. We had the entire floor laid down, maybe 2,000 square feet, and the homeowner came in and realized that those beams were 2 inches too big. So I mean, it were a couple inches. So we literally tore the entire floor up, craned all the LVLs out, ripped down 2 inches, put it all back in. So.
Did they pay for that? Was that like could you change order for that or?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like there was no argument with that. I mean, I've had clients do that sometimes, and you're like, well, we're gonna charge you for that. It's okay, and they go, really?
Yeah.
So I think that's the balance between the customer.
Find yourself
and
with
the
a
production.
empty house. Yeah. Oh, see, those are the things that just. I know that if. And we're looking at getting back into certain things, and it's just like, I would never want to work for a client. Just don't.
I'm trying to get out of it. That's why we've done all this over the last couple of years. I don't. It's weird. I don't like people, and I'm sure you've experienced this in the last few years. People moving into the state, it's a different dynamic. So it's a different game being played when we're doing this work. But the biggest thing I've learned over the years is how to really get good at reading people. And the client's always vetting the contractor, but guess what? We get to vet the client.
I don't think they think that.
They don't ever really think about that until
you would be really lucky. If you get this job.
And they can't believe you're saying no to like, this is a $60,000 basement. You don't want this job? No, I don't, because I'm not going to make 60 grand.
Yeah.
One. And two, I'm probably gonna end up spending money on your house because I can see where this is going from day one. You're already nitpicking, papers that are sitting on the table, and we haven't even pulled a permit to get started yet. Too many bad vibes. Over the years, you learn, like when you're first starting out, you're just like, whatever they say yes to, I'm just gonna do it. And you get burned. You end up realizing those $4,000 to $6,000 jobs that you end up losing money on. You could have been better off sitting home playing video games, right? Yeah. And that's the hard lessons of starting your business, especially in this industry. But learning how to read people is key. And now, in this industry right now, with as much businesses out there, it's easy to say no to jobs because there's plenty to have. Like you can pretty much exclusively just take builder jobs right now if you wanted. And those usually are a lot better than if you're working for a client on a remodel for sure. But when it gets hard, that's why I was talking about adaption earlier, is like, what do you do? What else can you be doing? Because I know I'm not going to go back into taking any more client work that way. Not on the remodel side.
The basements.
My back's killing me I didn't even have a step stool for 2 days. I was using a little stool.
But unless you guys spread out, your work, meaning like what you're saying, like maybe the next evolution would be doing residential work with clients again. But right now, you don't really have to. You're kind of busy enough with the kind of the 2 builders that you're working with that you kind of don't have to. They just keep calling you and giving you work, and that's enough for you guys to kind of be profitable and keep you guys busy, and everything works out. And if one of those builders decided not to continue hiring you guys for whatever reason, or that builder decides to get into restaurants or something, right, instead of building, and you're down to 1, would you go look for another builder? Would you just be taking on any other additional work to try to keep you guys busy? Or I guess my question is, how much have you thought about your, like, depending on your 2 builders now, that if something changed with those builders, like how would you adapt to make sure that you stay busy? Would you go back into the working with clients? Would you try to go find another builder? Have you thought about that much? And kind of
what's your next 10 years look like?
I think it's a balance there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of variables of what's going on with the market too. So,
Mm-hmm.
I bounce around on the regular with it, of thinking about being a builder, thinking about alternative building,
Mm-hmm.
staying with the framing contracting. So,
You want to frame a shipping container on?
sure,
Okay.
absolutely.
Sweet.
Yeah.
You just need some walls inside of it.
Some walls inside of it. Yeah. Figure that out.
Yeah, I mean, there's some nuances with that, but that's the stuff I'm trying to figure out. I mean, especially with wall assemblies, that's kind of like my little
What, with shipping containers?
that little niche I want to get into, is figuring out the best way to
Take a steel box and make it a home.
take a steel box, make it a home without having thermal bridging issues, and you know, as cool as it can be without spending too much money. Because we talk about all the time, if you overfabricate these things, why not just build a stick-built home?
Yeah.
The whole point is speed, efficiency, cost, and then you get the cool look afterwards. So yeah.
It'd be pretty dope to find somebody for what we want to do that consistently does it
Yeah.
and says, no, I'm willing to. Have you ever framed something like that?
Like shipping container.
Yeah, either a shipping container or some sort of weird, like what's the strangest thing that you've had to frame?
That's probably mine.
You know what I mean?
Project.
Like, well, yours, the one that.
Oh yeah, it was
What was
it was just goofy because they were trying to figure out the load of the roof and where to carry it down, and that was another one of those things where
This wasn't the restaurant, was it?
no,
No.
this was a boulder.
Oh.
But where that PSL and that gang studded post was like 3 inches on the wrong side, and this was the engineer's mistake, on the wrong side of the beam that was down all the way in the basement,
Yeah.
and it didn't land on that steel beam. It was like, I mean, maybe 6 inches off, so it just carried it in space. So then I had to go back downstairs, I don't know if I told you this, and opened up the ceiling and basically ran a beam right next to the other one that carried it all the way over to the steel beam, because I was like, we can't get the post into that wall, there's nowhere to do it. Anyway, so it was just like one of those things where it's like, I just spent money to do this for
But have you framed something completely strange and outrageous? Have you done any commercial framing?
Any of the commercial would have been my multifamily, but it still all
Yeah.
stays with your standard
Yeah.
IRC. It's all the same stuff.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
not really.
No.
Not really. I think that's where the gap needs to be bridged, though, is that this alternative building still needs to follow the IRC and somewhere they need to meet. So there still needs to be a standard there that you can re-replicate things
Sure.
over and over and see the same thing.
Yeah.
So.
That's International Residential
Residential
Code.
Code.
Yeah.
Good
Just
job.
want to make sure.
Wow.
Look, man. There's a lot of things I'm not. Let's leave it at that. That's it. Is there more to that statement? No, there's a lot of things I'm not, man. But I do remember. I remember the book thumbing through it. Like, you know what? Shane knows this shit. I don't need to fucking thumb through this goddamn thing. Just ask this guy.
There's moments.
Yeah, no, man, because we would be.
It's snowing out.
I'm trying to. I know, man. What's the snow? If you're not in Colorado, this has been a crazy 3 weeks.
It's been wild. I think
It's been
I've
crazy.
Well, only because it was so dry and warm, like all of December and most of January.
This has been the snowiest 3 weeks I can remember since I've moved here.
Mother Nature's trying to catch up.
Seriously. I mean, God, it's been I haven't washed my truck in a month.
I think everybody's been spoiled the last few winters.
Yeah.
That's part of it. Anyway.
I mean, I don't mind it. It's winter.
Yeah.
It's supposed to.
Don't like it. You
That'd be
fucking
shitty
move.
for doing exterior work.
Yeah, that's another question. Do you take work? Do you stay busy all year round? I mean, it's busy now, so
Oh yeah, we can't stop.
yeah, take it when it's there.
Yeah.
If they're ready.
Luckily, here in the city, none of it really stays too long. So.
Well, I mean, Colorado doesn't. Yeah, you know, it'll snow 2 days later. Most of it can melt. Sun's out. Give you 20 degrees, it's gone.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. But it's not like working in Alaska or Canada or.
Yeah, up in the mountains there, I think it's a little different, but
There's a ton of snow there right now.
It sounds like I'd pay $45 an hour.
Yeah.
You want me to do what outside? That's gonna be $45 an hour. Okay, fair enough.
Trying to chalk your
I'll come back
mind.
this summer and charge you cheaper.
Yeah,
but
snow.
until then, I'm not. Yeah, that sounds awful.
Yeah, it's not much fun.
Because it's really snowing outside.
You know, well, it is. It is coming.
It's pretty.
So you guys' shipping container, where are you guys at with that right now?
A lot
Just
closer,
have
I think.
I think we're getting closer. We met with a potential investor last week.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the idea right now is to build a prototype, to actually build one. Get our hands on some shipping containers, build something. We'll keep the property
Mm-hmm.
as a Built by Bailey's home, right? Which we can use personally, but also as an investment type asset where we can Airbnb it out. So picking the right place,
The right layout.
the right layout to achieve kind of the right things. So the idea is if we want to take the shipping container idea for affordable housing, that somewhere in this structure, this was actually Shane and I's first decision in meeting with this investor, is kind of lay out what the vision is.
Yeah, what we're trying to
Yeah.
accomplish.
We thought, well, we could just build a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, think of like real mod shipping container like cabin up in the hills somewhere, right? It'd be sweet to own. We could go there. We could also walk people through almost like a model. This is what we can build. This is how much it costs. Or at least get going on one. This one will be probably more expensive than, because we haven't, when I say
Yeah.
expensive, it'll be inexpensive, but we'll be able to get it even less expensive after we work on one. So the idea is like, let's let us thumb through one ourselves instead of like take a client on and try to do it. Like, let's make our own mistakes and all that kind of stuff, and then we'll sit through and reevaluate. But we didn't know if we wanted to do a 2-bedroom, 1-bath and just make this like small, real like dope mod cabin.
Is this out of one?
That'd be out of one if it was a 2-bed, 1-bath.
Or two.
Or two.
I was thinking doing two 40-footers together because that ends up being 640 square feet and give us just enough space. But really figuring out how to make this unbelievably simplified with trying to make it as aesthetically pleasing as possible. Like that would be the goal. Have someone walk in and say, this thing is amazing. What they don't know is that it was well thought out to keep the cost down. But we thought if we're gonna hold on to the property, only a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, or 640 square foot structure isn't very marketable if we want to Airbnb it out or if we want to.
Determining that clientele for that investment side of it is where we're trying to like, okay, what does this look like then? I don't want to, it'd be great just to have one, but I want to make money on it and you know, have it for free basically.
So what we figured out we would do, or what we decided on doing, is make the 2-bedroom, 1-bath, but basically give it a wing. So maybe 2 more, right? So connect it with like a 40-footer, so think like a U, right? And creating like an internal courtyard type thing, where the other one is more like a conference room, where it's a bigger room and maybe the back 10 or 15 feet of the 40-footer is like a room with some bunk beds, whatever, but it's like a conference room, so people could rent it out for business purposes, for retreats. It housed more for people to Airbnb. It sleeps more.
Right.
Shane can run some classes, or if it gave us more marketability. So that way, it is a larger structure, but it houses the 2-bedroom, 1-bath that people can still look at. Right. And so that's kind of where we're at now. So this investor is super interested. I talked to him again. And just trying to figure out how that would all transpire. So in theory, everybody's in. Shane's done some drawings. I think we have a good design idea, and I think once we figure out kind of the money part with this person, we'll really start looking at what this looks like.
And where it's going to go.
And where it's going to go. I mean, obviously, we want it somewhere that's desirable. If we're going to hold on to it, a place where we can take the kids and the family up for a weekend, or if we're not there, people want to rent it. I want it to have some land,
Yeah.
you know, stuff like that. So finding the right property, but then once we kind of get there, it's kind of like, all right, get with an engineer, and here's what we want to build, and let's start talking about it. And if the whole idea is not just to build this really great structure, to build a great structure that's beautifully designed, that is inexpensive to build.
Right.
Right? And so there's this weird little formula there that we're trying to figure out, because if we can kind of get that dialed in, then there's probably some ways, which we've discussed ad nauseum on this podcast, but to maybe supplement shipping container construction to replace a lot of manufactured mobile homes, which allows us to do more for those people, because a shipping container home, if mortgage, becomes real property, whereas mobile home and manufactured homes always remain private property and depreciate. So you could build essentially these communities. You could treat them like a normal mobile home or manufactured home would be, and then after a year or so, if they've established their pay, then a mortgage company could come in and say, well, at $300 a square foot, you'd only be at like 40% loan to value, so we'll just mortgage you, and you just get your house.
Right.
So we need to, that's why we want to build the 2-bedroom, 1-bath. So that's kind of where we're at now, is we're just getting ready. I think at our meeting, we were saying that if we can get started this summer, actually